How shall we increase your appetite today? Here is a hearty jjim dish using chicken as the main ingredient. Today's recipe is 궁중다ktchim, shredded and seasoned chicken meat accompanied by 3 different types of oriental mushrooms in a savory chicken broth. Learn another popular chicken dish, 삼계탕, in today's Korean food story. Ginseng is an indispensable ingredient of 삼계탕. How much do you know about ginsengs and their use in Korean cooking? Let's now get started and continue down the road to experiencing more of Korean cuisine.
안녕하세요. Hi everyone, welcome to More Than Kimchi, and I'm your host Hwa-young Jung. Chicken is considered to be most versatile, nutritious, and healthy meat these days. Today, we are going to show you to prepare one chicken dish called 궁중다ktchim, Korean palace-style chicken stew. Before I go any further, let's meet today's instructor, Mrs. 이동순. 선생님 안녕하세요. 오셔서 감사합니다.
반갑습니다.
She's well known for her work on globalizing Korean food. We also have Sarah Henapel here with us today. Sarah, thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. We eat a lot of chicken in
Oh,
our
wonderful.
home. Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm always looking for a new delicious recipe.
Wonderful. Today, you're going to learn how to prepare in Korean style.
Great.
So today, we are going to make 궁중다ktchim, palace-style chicken stew. So let's take a look at the ingredients that we need. Of course, we need a chicken, so we have chicken here. And this time, we're going to use 3 kinds of mushrooms as a vegetable. Here, I have a 표고버섯, and then I have a 목이버섯 and 석이버섯. 표고버섯, you might know as a Chinese mushrooms. And 목이버섯, some people say it's wood ear or cloud's ear. I don't know whether you have a term. But in Korean, since we have so many different mushrooms, they all have different names. Here we call stone mushrooms, 석이버섯. And these mushrooms come in a dried form. So you have to soak in advance to make it softer. So these are the dry forms. And we already soaked in water for a while to have these kind of soft mushrooms that are ready to cook. And to season the chicken, we have leeks and ginger. And for spice later, we will use sesame seed, pepper, flour, salt, chopped garlic, green onions, and sesame oil. So what shall we start first?
먼저 닭부터 익혀보겠습니다.
So we're going to start with the chicken
자,
here.
닭 이렇게 있는데요. 여기 그 꽁지 쪽을 보시게 되면은 여기가 요 끝에를요, 이렇게 칼로 이렇게 좀 도려내 주세요. 그러면 이 안에
Let me show
지방이
this
들어가
one.
있기 때문에요.
Yeah.
이 지방은 좀
Yeah.
걷어내 주시면
Yeah.
좋겠어요.
Mrs. E just took off the tip or the tail of the chicken because that's where the most fat is there. So she took off the tip. You get rid of it, and then we'll get ready to boil it.
Of course, that's where there's a lot of flavor also
I
in
know.
the skin of the
That's
chicken.
right. So you sprinkle with the salt and some pepper
자,
before you
이때는 제가
cook.
이제 흰 후춧가루를 썼습니다.
And because it's chicken, you don't want to use black pepper. This is a white pepper. I mean, powder white pepper.
Ah, what's
See?
the difference?
Well, I think you take off the outer layer of the black pepper, and then you use white pepper.
자, 닭을 솥에 넣고 자, 여기에 파를요.
Shall we give to Sarah?
Sure.
Next, we're going to cut this leek. This is called 대파 in Korean. 대 means big and 파 means green onion. But I guess you could call leek because it's rather fat.
Right.
생강은 이렇게 점여서 썰어주세요.
Then if you cut it here, you want to cut some ginger, you slice it.
Okay.
And these are just for flavoring when you cook the chicken in the broth.
How
Just
big should I
it. Just
slice it?
slice those,
Small?
right. Any size, that would be fine.
And of course, this has already been peeled.
Right.
We peel the ginger
Uh-huh.
first. Okay.
That's good.
There you go.
Put it over here. So you have leek and sliced ginger to cook the chicken.
So that is our seasonings then
That's
that
right,
we put
for
in
the
the pot.
broth. Sometimes don't you put onions and carrots to make a chicken broth?
Absolutely, yes.
Here, ginger is very important in Korea when you cook chicken. We think, there's some kind of smell with the chicken you can get rid of by using ginger.
자, 닭과 대파와 생강을 넣으시고 여기에 물이 잠길 정도, 닭이 잠길 정도의 물을 부어줍니다.
And you're pouring water just enough to cover the chicken. So that way we'll cook chicken for a while, and also we make the chicken broth for this dish. The cooking time should be about an hour or 45 minutes, depending on very slow cooking.
We simmer it then,
Right,
a low
simmer,
heat,
right.
not a high heat.
That's right. So jim actually means it's not really, fast cooking. It's a slow cooking, like a braising slowly. That's what we call jim.
여기 저희가 이 물하고요, 육수하고
Here we have chicken broth.
자, 기름 있던 육수와
So this is the
익혀진 닭을
stock,
저희가
right.
이렇게 준비할 수가 있겠죠.
So these are the result of after you cook for about 45 minutes, about an hour, and then you cool the broth. And what we need to do next step is skim the fat up at the top.
That's a
And
good
one
idea.
way Koreans doing is going through a sieve. 여기다 제가 불까요?
여기에 체에다가 이렇게
예.
면보를 해서 걸러주시게 되면은 기름기가 이제 없어지게 됩니다.
So basically trying to get the top layer of the fat.
That's very clever. I use a spoon, which is
Right.
very difficult to do sometimes.
Right. Another way of doing, I guess, is you can freeze it slightly and then just get off those,
Take
top
the
layer
crust.
of white
Yeah.
crust, right?
자, 이렇게 해서 좀 놔두도록 하고요.
Then we'll put it back there. So we
여기는
prepare the
저희가
chicken
이제
broth. And what we need to do now is take off the bone and the skin from the chicken. We only need the meat of the chicken.
Okay.
So,
So we're going to peel away the skin,
Right.
and we're going to break the chicken meat in
right.
little pieces.
So you just want the meat without fat, without skin, and without the bones.
I see.
And then you will make a big chunk. Let's use this one for us. So Sarah, as you make a big chunk, you just cut the meat to a big chunk. Then put it over here.
Make it in bite sizes,
Yeah,
small.
right, by size.
We call this hands-on work.
That's right.
It's a little time-consuming, but
It
it's worth
is.
the effort.
And also, it's a very healthy way of enjoying chicken because you skim all the fat from the broth, and with the meat, you are taking up all the skins. That's where you have most of fat, and just the meat is what we are using.
So this keeps it more low-fat.
That's right.
Right.
And we will put seasoning on this chicken. That's pretty good,
What
Sarah.
type of seasonings do you use?
So we'll show you pretty soon. You're going advanced before we go.
sorry.
So put yours over here, and we'll
Okay.
pass it to Mrs. E.
Perhaps mine are still a little bit too big, Western style. We have,
Looks very good.
okay, here's
There.
one more.
And I'll just put it over there. Oh, we will put it separate.
자, 그 다음에는 이거를 양념을 해줘야 되기 때문에
예.
양념장을 만들도록 하겠습니다.
So Mrs. E is making seasoning for the chicken meat. You have salt and chopped green onion, chopped garlic, some ginger juice. That's very important with chicken dish. And sesame seeds, white pepper, and sesame oil. 그걸 두 가지를 다 쓰겠까요, 선생님? And then we'll
제가
divide it into two.
조금 나눠드릴 테니까요. 손으로 버무려 주세요.
And you get to
Use my
mix
hands.
it all. Definitely.
This is the best
it's
part, I
hands-on,
think.
right?
Yes, the hands-on.
Which is very important in Korean cooking. Just don't be afraid of using your hands all the time.
In my kitchen, I'm always looking for a spoon or fork
Right.
too. So now I know I have your permission to use my hands.
So first, this is 표고버섯, Chinese mushroom. You're going to remove the stem at the back and then cut it into 4.
What do you mean? Oh, I see.
So quarter the mushroom.
Okay.
That's what we will do with the 표고버섯.
Ah.
And then this is called 모기버섯, wood ear or whatever. But remember as 모기버섯. This one you can just tear it with your hand.
It looks like seaweed. I thought
It
it was
is,
seaweed.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also look like an ear too when you actually look at it. That's why it has
You're
a name
right.
of wood ear mushroom. So 모기버섯, we have that. These are of course all soaked in water and they are very soft. And finally, this is called the 서기버섯, stone mushroom. The reason we call this stone mushroom because it grows on the surface of stone. So when you clean it, you have to make sure you get all the sand because usually it has tiny sand on the surface.
Should you rinse it or soak it in water in order to clean
After
it?
you soak in water, you have to rinse it on a running water to get rid of all the sand at the back. So we have 서기버섯. 서기버섯, stone mushroom, you will slice it.
동글게 말아주세요.
Ah,
Yeah.
we're placing
Yeah.
Yeah, together.
together and roll
And then
it.
you roll
아주
it.
tightly.
Very,
roll very tightly.
Okay.
And these are the dried foams. Looks very like almost paper. And then you soak it in water. That's how you get the soft one. You roll it and then slice it very
I'm
thin.
slicing it very thin. Do we soak it in hot water or cold
Warm
water?
water.
Warm
And sometimes if you don't have enough time, the hotter, the sooner it gets softer, the faster it gets softer.
Okay.
But any hot water would be fine. Just soak it about an hour or so. 표고버섯 and 모기버섯 we'll just use the way it is. But the 버섯, which is stone mushroom, we're going to just stir fry very briefly.
And we cook these just for about 30 seconds, a minute.
How long shall we cook? For about a minute or so?
About 10 seconds.
About 10 seconds.
10 seconds, and I can
Not
see
too
my
much.
big slices, the Western style, and the tiny,
The tiny,
ones
nicer ones.
are the correct
Right.
way.
We're going to prepare the chicken broth in order to use it for this dish. So we need to boil it. There.
Now this stock came from our
From the
chicken
chicken,
earlier.
right. And then we also skim the fat. That's at the top.
So you really waste nothing.
Waste
You-
nothing, that's right.
Am I going to cover this?
Sure. And once it's boiled, we'll use with the chicken. So we have before prepared the chicken that's seasoned already and shredded and seasoned. It's ready here. And 3 kinds of mushrooms are ready to be used here. And let's see what Mrs. E does afterwards.
자, 그 다음에는 아까 녹두 녹말 요거를 물을 좀 넣어서 풀어놔주세요, 미리.
So I introduced you before the mung bean starch, where in Korea we really like to use instead of cornstarch. And she's mixing with water and mung bean starch. Later we'll use this to thicken the broth.
The same way we use cornstarch,
Cornstarch,
to thicken
that's right.
sauces and
이렇게 해서 준비해놔주시고.
So we have mung bean starch and water here. And then next,
자, 그 다음에는 계란을 풀어서 준비해 주십니다.
we'll also use egg for this dish.
so she whips the egg or beats it
Right.
slightly.
So here's we are ready with the mung bean starch with water and then whipped egg here.
자, 표고버섯 먼저 넣어주시고요.
So first thing we're gonna do is we put in our the 표고버섯, Chinese mushroom, and then we're gonna use this. But I will let Mrs. E does first and follow her. Shall I put this inside now?
네, not yet.
We put the
넣어주시고,
표고버섯.
자, 소금
Right.
숟가루 그다음에
Oh,
간을
okay.
해주세요.
They
And
need
then
to cook a little bit.
A little bit,
a few
and then
minutes.
right, and then we'll use a little bit of salt and white
White
pepper,
pepper again.
for seasoning. And then we'll use.
I like the
Smells very
idea of
nice.
cutting the 3 mushrooms differently.
Well, there are different kinds, therefore
all
you
3
should do
different
differently.
kinds.
So here is the mung bean starch with water.
So we're going to pour that in to thicken the
right.
stock.
As I said, I will follow the experts. As soon as Mrs. E does on her part, we'll do this
do
side.
it. Right. We want ours to taste just as well as hers.
Shall we turn this down a little bit? Maybe too strong?
육수가 끓으면은 이때
Yeah.
넣어주세요.
It's a little
Okay.
too high.
Okay, so it's burning. So we'll just put it in while we are stirring. That's good. Nice and
Smells
thick. It's getting
nice.
thicker. So the purpose of using mung bean starch is to thicken the broth a little bit.
And keep on stirring it.
Why don't you do
Okay,
that?
sure.
That should be your job there. So we just put the mung bean starch to make the broth a little thicken. And then
now?
finally we are putting the second kind of mushroom, which is mogibasat,
Mogibosot.
wood ear mushrooms if you prefer, or mogibasat, we'll put that.
I think I prefer the Korean.
mogibasat, it's a lot easier.
Sometimes things should not be translated,
No,
is my
but
opinion.
mok means tree in Korean, and e means from Chinese character ear. So basically it's a tree ear.
자, 이렇게 해서
Watch
넣어주세요.
carefully what Mrs. E does.
Oh.
And you just, so if you stir too much, you won't get the texture of this. Sometimes I think we stir too much.
We did, huh?
Yes, compared to Mrs. E's, that's kind of nice, kind of, I want to show that a little
So
bit.
when we pour the egg,
Don't stir
don't
it too.
stir that.
Right.
Don't stir.
I
Don't
just
stir
want to
that much.
compare. See, this one is like a nice thin kind of shape, almost like a
Yes.
paper there.
That's why
And-
she's the teacher and I'm the
Right.
student.
And we tend to stir too much, got all break away. So final stage
자, 다
is
준비가 됐으면은 여기에 아까 우리 닭 양념해 놓은 거를
you
놔주시고
have the bowl right
그릇
there.
준비해
Oh,
주시고요.
maybe the other one, Sarah. Let's use the other one there. Shall we use this bowl here or that one? This one?
What
Okay.
size?
That's better, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're putting the chicken that's cooked and seasoned before.
I
put it in a bowl.
all of it in or just a little bit in?
Just
that
as
much?
our teacher does.
Okay.
A good student.
That-
Maybe shall we put it all?
Oh,
Yeah.
let's put it all in. What do you think?
That looks good.
Yeah.
So we have chicken meat, seasoned chicken meat at the bottom of the pot. And
자, 이거를 여기다가
And then we're going to,
there you go.
okay, we're going to ladle
Right.
the soup
Very gently.
over the chicken.
So it's almost like a topping with the liquid. You have the egg and two kinds of mushrooms, 표고버섯 and 모기버섯 there. Looks very
And
nice.
we-
Smells wonderful.
good also.
Really does.
Yes. And you'll just pour some more broth.
More
That looks good, yeah. Looks wonderful.
Yes. What a hearty looking
Yeah.
stew.
Well, I'm going to just copy Mrs. East a little bit and put the mushrooms at the top a little bit. Be more appetite.
Presentation
Yes.
is important.
There. Looks similar to hers. Thank you. There. Okay, so this is the chicken stew. And we had one more mushroom, remember? We had a soggy mushroom that we stir-fried here. So we're going to use that as a topping. The only thing is I tried to pick what Mrs. E did before, kind of tiny ones.
To kind of sprinkle.
Yeah. See, the big ones I tried to
I
avoid.
see.
It got too big. So I think it's important when you make garnish to make it very fine, even shape, because it is used as a garnish. So we'll use a little bit at the top. There.
Nice colors. Beautiful.
There. So this is our dish today, 궁중다ktchim. What do you think, Sarah?
It looked very easy to do, very nutritious.
And very healthy. Remember, there's hardly any fat. We got rid of all the fat here. Very healthy dish.
Is this eaten any time of year, any special time of year?
Usually we prefer summertime. Let's talk about that a little later.
Okay, great.
So this is our product, and I'd like to show you now the whole procedure one more time.
Asan, situated in southern Chungcheong province, has many traces left by Admiral Yi Sun-shin from the Joseon dynasty. Hyunchungsa has been constructed to commemorate the general's long-remembered heroism. The descendants of the admiral live within the Hyunchungsa and are known for their hospitality. Mrs. Chae Suk-sun is the eldest daughter-in-law of the family, and she has learned the recipes and cooking techniques from her mother-in-law. Her specialty is sam계탕. First of all, a slit is made on the skin at the rear, just big enough to cross-tie the legs together after the interior has been filled in. A small and young chicken is recommended, within which various ingredients will be stuffed and stewed in seasoned chicken broth. She uses glutinous rice that has been soaked in water for 30 to 40 minutes beforehand. A special ingredient in the sam계탕 recipe is ginseng. One medium-sized root will be sufficient per whole chicken. There is no fixed order in putting the ingredients into the whole chicken. Besides ginseng and jujubes, some other Chinese herbs may be added to make hanbang samgyetang with medicinal qualities. Additionally, a couple of chestnuts are enough to give extra nutty flavor to the dish. It is interesting to note that tea leaves are used as one of the stuffing ingredients. The purpose of green tea leaves is to minimize the distinct chicken smell. Sometimes wild sesame seeds substitute for the tea leaves. Once all the necessary ingredients have been put in, chicken legs are cross-tied in order to prevent the ingredients from falling out while being stewed in a deep casserole. The stuffed chicken will be immersed in seasoned soup and cooked thoroughly. There is a term sambok in Korea, which means that there are 3 major heat waves during one summer. Samgyetang is one of the most preferred dishes during the sambok days in order to fortify oneself against extreme heat. Garlic may be added either while stuffing the chicken or while simmering it. There is no fixed amount, so it is up to the cook to decide how much garlic should be used. Once the chicken has been thoroughly cooked, it is seasoned with some salt and black pepper before serving. Often, samgyetang is accompanied by ginseng wine or insamju. Ginseng wine is a healthy drink as long as taken in moderation. It improves the blood circulation system within the body and enhances the color of the complexion. Most of all, samgyetang is effective in preventing heat exhaustion and energy drainage in the summer, for it improves the overall body immunity system. It is not hard to recognize the ginseng fields by the surrounding dark nets that protect the ginsengs from intense sun rays. Ginseng is universally recognized as a wondrous panacea. It is effective in curing arteriosclerosis, high blood pressure, diabetes, and is also anti-cancer. Ginsengs require constant attention and care, which is one of the reasons why they are expensive and considered precious. They are highly sensitive to humidity, temperature, and the state of soil. It usually takes over a year for a ginseng to grow from a seed to an ideal size for harvest. Extra care should be taken when digging out the delicate roots. For higher profits, they are usually grown for 3 to 5 years. Those that are more than 5 years old are considered to be of high quality and marketing value. Ginseng is called insam in Korean for its close resemblance to human body shape. There are dozens of kinds of ginseng, all distinct in form, taste, aroma, and use. Ginseng are sparingly used in diverse soup and grilled dishes. They can also be bought fresh and eaten raw with some seasoning sauce. The undried ginseng used for making samgyetang is called susam. Ginseng is especially effective in bringing out the healthy nutrients in chicken. Other than samgyetang, there are yeonggae baeksuk, young chicken stew, and dakmeunjim, which is chicken and potatoes simmered in hot and spicy soup. Chicken is well appreciated in Korea as well as worldwide for its cooking versatility and richness in protein and other invaluable nutrients.
I hope you enjoy the story of chicken soup because those are very popular among Koreans these days. The smell's really good. Why don't we start?
Okay.
So this is 궁중다ktchim.
Delicious. It has a very tangy flavor to it. The chicken does. And even the mushrooms are tasty as well.
Yeah, it gives a very delicate flavor to the soup.
You know, we often take this type of chicken the way we shredded it today, but we put it in a cold salad.
Oh, that's right.
For example. But we use chicken in not only salads, but we also use it as a hamburger or chicken patty. We grill it, we broil it, barbecue. We use chicken in a lot of different ways.
Fry.
Chicken
fry.
But a little too fattening now.
These days, that's true.
This is a nice dish because it is low in fat. We did take the skin off, and these days a lot of Western people are looking for low-fat chicken dishes.
Right. This would be perfect for you, for
Yeah.
everybody.
It also seems to have a nutty flavor. You know, very,
It's
very
from
savory.
from the mushroom. You know, we have 3 kinds of mushroom here, and those delicate kind of nutty flavor is from the mushrooms.
Now this is a hot soup, so would you serve it in the winter time?
Actually not. You know, it's interesting. In Korean term, we have 이열치열, which means you cure the heat by heat. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So hot chicken soup, you might think it's for winter, but Koreans love it during summertime because we think you lose kind of energy during the summertime by sweating and with those kind of humidity, you know, the weather. So it's really loved by Koreans during the hot summer. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting because I would think you'd drink or eat something
That's
cold.
right, yeah.
But it's very refreshing and it's not a heavy dish.
No, it's not,
Although it is
definitely.
hearty, it has chicken and it has your nutrition with the vegetables, it still feels nice and light.
Right,
and
very
refreshing.
delicate flavor too. I also would like to ask Mrs. Yi, I see something very interesting over here. What's this?
좀 드셔보세요. 요거는 북어를 이렇게 부풀하기를 내서 세 가지 색깔을 낸 거예요. 드셔보세요. 반찬으로 많이 이용되고 있어요.
How interesting. This is kind of powdered fish from dried pollock. We have a fish called pollock, and this is dried. And you seasoned with 3 different kinds. This is with the salt, and this is soy sauce and red pepper. It's basically a fish powder.
It's not spicy.
Not spicy, slightly a little bit. 그럼 보통 언제 먹나요, 선생님?
이건 보통 이런 이제 죽이라든가 이렇게 이제 그 유동식을 먹을 때 제가 같이 보통 먹고 있어요.
So this dish, she said, is served usually when you take porridge or soup like this that has a liquid because it's rather dry. So it's a good accompaniment for this kind of soup.
As a side dish or do
As
you
a side
sprinkle
dish,
it as a side
yes,
dish?
side dish. So you can use your chopsticks. Very interesting flavor.
Another interesting thing about this dish, which makes it very friendly for foreigners, it's not spicy.
That's right.
It's
yes.
very refreshing in that sense. There's no gochujang, it's just a light flavor.
Yes. So what do you think of today's recipe? Dakchim, Korean-style chicken stew, is an example of another nice way to prepare chicken. Why don't you try this recipe at home, which is very healthy and nutritious? I'd like to thank both of you for coming today, and I hope to see you again next time with another great recipe. 안녕히 계세요.